I don't even know where to start because it feels like my life has been turned inside out. And honestly, I'm still trying to piece everything together myself. My name's Lisa, and I'm sharing this here because maybe someone out there has gone through something similar or just needs to hear it from someone who's lived it. I was about to marry the love of my life, or so I thought. The guy I was with, Mark, seemed perfect, kind, funny, steady. We had a nice house, good jobs, and a future mapped out. Everyone thought we were a match made in heaven. But I swear, the moment I saw that stain on my wedding dress, I knew everything was crumbling around me. It was just a tiny red lipstick mark, smeared across the pristine white fabric, but it felt like a punch in the stomach. I remember freezing there, staring down at it, my hands trembling so badly I thought I'd drop the whole dress. How could someone do this? How could her be so disgusting? Her name was Jenny. She was my best friend's sister, someone I'd known for years. We'd always been close, had countless heart-to-hearts, shared secrets, lent each other clothes, and celebrated birthdays. I trusted her. That's what makes this worse. Because the day I found out, literally the day I was supposed to walk down the aisle, she was sneaking into my parents' cabin. Not just sneaking, but doing it with my fiancé. My own brother's best friend, Jake, was there too, and they weren't just talking. I found out because I went to grab my dress from the laundry room and saw her lipstick smeared all over the corner of the fabric. I was frozen, staring at the evidence, my stomach twisting like a storm was brewing inside me. A part of me wanted to scream, hit something, anything. But mostly I just felt numb. My brain was clicking through every moment I spent with her, trying to find the signs I missed, the little red flags I ignored because I didn't want to believe she'd do this. That she'd betray me like this, right before the biggest day of my life. And here's the thing. I also saw the text messages she forgot to delete. There they were in my phone, a string of flirty messages between her and Jake, full of inside jokes and secret plans. To meet up that week, I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, my palms sweating at the sight of her words, the way she spoke about him like he was the answer to all her problems. I remember clutching the fabric tightly, feeling the roughness of the thread digging into my palms. My voice caught as I finally whispered to myself, "This can't be real. Not today. Not now." I knew my world was shattering, but I kept telling myself I had to stay strong, had to keep it together until I figured out what to do. I wanted to run, scream, break something, but instead I just stared, stunned and furious all at once. When I finally confronted her that night, she played innocent, acting like I was overreacting. "Lisa, it's not what it looks like," she said, eyes wide, fake tears brimming. "We didn't do anything, I swear. It's just a stupid mistake. Save it." I cut her off, voice cold and shaking. "You've been lying to me the entire time. I found your lipstick on my dress, Jenny. You're sneaking into my parents' cabin with Jake, and I found your texts. How stupid do you think I am?" She looked caught cornered, but she still had the nerve to act like she was the victim. "It's not what you think, Lisa. You're so paranoid." "No," I said sharply. "I'm not paranoid. You're a liar and a cheat. You betrayed me, and I don't even want to see you again." My stomach was clenched tight like I'd swallowed a brick. I didn't cry then, but my throat felt raw, my hands trembling as I handed her the dress back. I wanted to run, scream, stop feeling this way, but all I could do was stand there, staring her down as she tried to pretend it was nothing. I thought about calling the wedding off right then and there. But I was frozen, unsure if I was stronger enough to do it out loud. Instead, I kept quiet, but my mind was racing. I knew I was sitting on a powder keg, waiting for the spark to ignite my revenge. I didn't plan anything yet, but I could feel it coming, the urge to make her pay, to take back what she'd stolen. That night, as I lay in bed, the image of her lips on my dress haunted me. I kept replaying that moment, and my stomach churned with anger. I couldn't believe I'd married a liar, a cheater, someone I loved who'd betrayed me so profoundly. But I also knew that I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without a fight. I just had to figure out how to turn this nightmare around. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been run over by a truck. My head was pounding and my stomach was twisted into knots. I kept replaying the night before, her sneaky smile, the lipstick stain on my dress, the text messages I found. It all felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. But I knew I couldn't stay in bed forever. I had to figure out what to do next. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the cracked ceiling and feeling that icy determination settle in. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not without a fight. I started thinking about my options, how I could confront her again, maybe even tell Mark what I knew. But a part of me knew that wasn't enough. She lied, betrayed me, and I needed more than just words. My mind kept circling back to her face, her lies, the way she'd looked at me with fake concern when I found her out. That was the moment I realized I needed to be clever, meticulous, and a little ruthless. I couldn't just call her out. I had to make her realize she'd made a terrible mistake crossing me. And that meant planning, setting a trap, something she wouldn't see coming. I knew where she worked. She still kept her job at that boutique downtown. I decided I'd go there later that afternoon, pretending everything was normal, but I'd be watching her every move. I wanted to see how she behaved when she was caught off guard, especially if I could find a way to catch her red-handed again. I needed to gather proof, something concrete, before I did anything else. While I was sitting there, I remembered Jake, her accomplice in this mess. I decided I'd need to talk to him, too. I didn't want to go straight to Mark just yet. I wanted to be strategic. I needed leverage, something to hold over her head, and if I could make Jake admit everything, that'd be a good start. I called my brother Tom, who's always been on my side. I told him what I found out and asked if he'd help me. "You think Jenny would try to do something like this?" he asked, voice sharp with disbelief. "I don't think she's capable of anything less now," I said. "But I need proof. I need to catch her in the act again or get Jake to tell the truth." I could hear him sigh on the other end, but he agreed to back me up. That afternoon, I put on my best normal face and headed to the boutique. I kept my eyes peeled for any signs of her sneaking around, whispering with someone, or acting suspicious. I didn't see her do anything overtly shady, but I knew her type. She was careful, sneaky. I followed her through the store, watching her every move, trying to catch her slip up. She was busy helping a customer when I saw her glance toward the back room. That was odd. I hung around the front, pretending to browse, but I kept my ears open. I overheard her whispering on the phone, just loud enough for me to hear. "He's not home yet. I'll be there in 15 minutes, don't worry." My stomach sank. That confirmed she was meeting Jake again. I felt a rush of anger and something else, satisfaction. I had her now. I snapped a quick picture with my phone of her on the phone, then slipped out before she saw me. I'd use this later, I thought. I had my evidence and I was just getting started. Later that evening, I sat down with my brother Tom and went through everything I'd gathered. We plotted out the next move. I told him, "Tomorrow I'm going to confront her. I want her to trip herself up. When she does, I'll have everything I need to blow this wide open." My voice was steady, but inside I felt a storm brewing. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the lies, the deception, and how betrayed I felt. My hands clenched into fists under the blankets. The idea of revenge made my stomach churn with both anticipation and dread. I wanted her to pay, but I also hated that I had to stoop to her level. Still, I was done being the victim. The next day, I laid out my plan carefully. I'd go to her workplace again, but this time I'd have a friend with me, someone I could trust. We'd catch her in the act, maybe even have a recording or more photos. I wanted her to realize she'd messed with the wrong person. I was done playing nice. It was time for her to face the consequences of what she'd done. As I prepared myself that morning, I felt a strange mixture of nerves and adrenaline. I knew I was about to cross a line, but I also knew I'd never be able to forgive her. Not after she'd ripped apart everything I believed in. I reached for my keys, feeling the cold metal in my hand. I was ready to take her down, whether she liked it or not. I just hoped I was strong enough to get through it all. By the time I pulled into the parking lot of her boutique, my pulse was pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. My hands felt slick against the steering wheel, but I forced myself to stay steady. I told myself this was the only way to find out the truth, to finally put an end to her lies. I had a plan, and I was determined to see it through, no matter how much it hurt. I glanced over at my friend Sarah, who had agreed to come with me. She was calm, but I saw the flicker of nerves in her eyes. "Are you ready for this?" she asked softly. "As ready as I'll ever be," I murmured. "Just stay close and don't let her see us watching." We got out of the car and headed toward the store. I kept my eyes peeled, watching every movement, every glance she threw around. She was behind the counter chatting with a customer, but her eyes kept darting toward the back room. My stomach clenched tighter. I told Sarah to stay by the front, pretending to browse. I slid toward the side entrance, staying behind a display so she wouldn't notice me. I kept my phone ready, just in case. I needed proof, something irrefutable. I didn't want to come out of this without that. She was busy helping an older woman pick out a scarf. When her phone buzzed in her pocket, she paused, glanced around, then pulled out her phone and whispered into it. I tried to listen but kept my distance. "Yeah, I'm almost there," she whispered, her voice too low for the customer to hear. "Don't worry, I've got it under control. He's none the wiser." My stomach dropped. She was meeting Jake again. I snapped a quick picture, then eased back behind the display. My hands trembled as I watched her slip her phone back into her pocket and continue helping the customer. I looked at Sarah, who was watching me with concern. I nodded toward the back room. "She's meeting him again," I whispered. "We've got her dead to rights." We decided to wait outside just to see if she'd slip up again. We found a spot behind a row of parked cars and stayed hidden, eyes on the store. Minutes ticked by like hours, but finally she emerged, looking flushed and hurried, glancing around to see if anyone was watching. Our eyes met briefly, and she looked furious when she saw us. That was payoff enough. I felt a rush of satisfaction, but I kept my composure. We waited until she disappeared down the street, then I pulled out my phone and called my brother, Tom. "She's definitely meeting him again. I've got the evidence I need. I'll confront her today." "Good," Tom said, voice firm. "Now don't go in guns blazing. Play it smart. Let her think she's fooling you. That's how you get her to trip herself up." I agreed. That was exactly what I planned. I could feel adrenaline coursing through me, my mind racing with possibilities. I wasn't going to let her ruin me, not without a fight. Later that evening, I sat in my living room, reviewing everything I had: photos, messages, the location pin I'd secretly taken. I knew I had her cornered, and I was already crafting the perfect way to confront her, to make her realize she'd lost control. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of walking away clean. When I finally dialed her number, she picked up immediately, her tone clipped. "You've been spying on me." "Oh, I've been watching," I said, voice cold. "You meet Jake again today, don't you?" There was a pause, an almost guilty silence. Then she snapped, "What are you talking about? You're crazy." "Don't lie," I shot back. "I saw you. I have the pictures. You're not fooling anyone, Jenny. I know what you did." She silenced for a moment, then let out a breath. "Fine, but you don't understand. It's not what you think." "Save it," I interrupted. "I don't want to hear your excuses. Just know that I'm done. I'll be confronting you in the morning, and I want you to be prepared, because this is over." As I hung up, I felt a strange mixture of relief and rage. I wasn't just angry, I was furious. I had trusted her, loved her, and she'd played me for a fool. But now I had her cornered, and I was ready to take back what she'd stolen from me. The next day would be the end of the line. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but I knew I needed to make a statement. And once I did, there wouldn't be any turning back. The truth would come out, and she wouldn't be able to hide behind her lies anymore. I looked around my house, feeling the weight of everything I'd discovered, and realized this isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming myself from the wreckage she left behind. I was done being the victim. Now I was taking control. The morning came faster than I expected, and my heart was pounding in my chest as I prepared to confront her. I hadn't slept much, just enough to feel raw, like my nerves were stretched too thin. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to think of what I'd say, how I'd say it, and most importantly, how I'd keep my cool when she started spinning her lies. The last thing I needed was to lose control and give her an upper hand. I texted Sarah to meet me at the coffee shop nearby. I told her I'd do the talking, but that I needed her there for moral support. She was a good friend, calm, steady, and I knew I'd rely on her to keep me grounded. As I drove to the coffee shop, I could feel the tension coiling inside me, a mixture of anger and that unsettling anticipation of what was to come. We sat across from each other, sipping lukewarm coffee, and I felt the weight of everything I'd uncovered pressing down. I looked at Sarah and took a deep breath. Today's the day. I'm finally going to make her admit she lied. I want her to know I've got the proof and I won't back down." She nodded, her face calm. "Just stay focused, keep your voice steady, and remember, don't let her manipulate you." I swallowed hard, then made the call. My hands were so sweaty I could barely hold the phone. I dialed Jenny's number and it rang twice before she picked up. "Good morning," she said, her tone overly sweet. "What's up?" "I want to meet," I said plainly. "In person, we need to talk." There was a pause. I could hear her breath hitch. "Now why? What's there to talk about?" "You know what's up," I shot back. "You can't keep lying, Jenny. I have everything, the photos, the messages. I want to hear it from you." She hesitated, then finally agreed, telling me to meet her at that little park near her apartment. I hung up, feeling my stomach twist again. This was it. When I arrived, she was already waiting, sitting on a park bench, pretending to look casual. Her face was a little pale, but she managed a fake smile. As I approached, she got up and looked at me with those big, fake eyes. "Look," she started, voice trembling just a bit. "I don't know what you think you have, but I have you," I snapped, cutting her off. "Everything, the texts, the meeting today, the stain on my dress. You cheated on me with my brother's best friend, Jenny. I want to hear you admit it, right now." She looked like she was about to cry, but her voice was steady. "Lisa, you're overreacting. I didn't mean for it to happen." "Oh, save it," I said sharply. "You lied to me, betrayed me, and I want the truth now. Did you really think I wouldn't find out, that I'd just forget about it?" She looked down, fiddling with her fingers. "It was a mistake. I was confused. It didn't mean anything. I swear I didn't want to hurt you." "Oh, really?" "Because it looks a lot like betrayal," I said, voice rising slightly. "You snuck into my parents' cabin. You sent those messages. You stained my dress with your lipstick. You thought I'd never find out, didn't you?" Her shoulders sagged and she looked defeated. "It was a stupid mistake. I didn't want you to find out like this. I was just scared, okay? I didn't mean for it to get out of control." "You should have thought about that before you lied to me, before you sneaked around," I shot back. "You're a liar, Jenny, and I don't think I can ever trust you again. But I want you to know something. You don't get to walk away unscathed. You thought you could ruin me, but I'm not going down that easy." Her eyes watered and she looked like she was about to break down. I took a deep breath, then pulled out the evidence I'd gathered, photos, screenshots, everything. I laid them out on the bench between us. "This is just the start," I told her. "You crossed the line, and I promise I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. You betrayed me, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." Her face crumpled and she started crying. "Please," she whispered, "give me a chance. I'll do anything, just don't ruin me." I shook my head slowly. "You had your chance. This is done. I don't want to see you again. Consider this your last warning. Stay away from me and stay away from my family." I stood up to leave, feeling a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I'd finally said everything I'd been holding inside, exposed her for who she was, and taken my power back. I didn't look back as I walked away, but my mind was already racing ahead to what my next move would be. When I got home, I realized the truth. Confronting her was just the beginning. Now I had to figure out how to really turn this around, how to make her pay, how to ensure she never hurt me again. The game had changed, and I was ready to play dirty if I had to. I knew one thing for sure: this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my self-respect, and making damn sure she knew she'd messed with the wrong person. Because I was done being the victim. And from now on, I was the one in control. After my confrontation with Jenny, I felt a strange sense of calm mixed with a simmering anger. I had finally spoken the truth, laid out everything she'd done, and made her realize she couldn't keep her lies hidden anymore. But I knew better than to think that was the end of it. Her reaction, tearful, pleading, was just her way of saving face. The real damage was done, and now I had to decide my next move carefully. That evening, I sat down with my brother, Tom, who had been quietly supportive since I first told him everything. We stayed in my living room, the only light coming from a flickering lamp, and I laid out my plan for the revenge I'd been brewing. I'd come this far, and I wasn't about to let her slip away without paying a price. "I'm not just going to let her walk away," I said, voice steady but simmering with anger. "She's humiliated me, betrayed me in the worst way. I want her to feel what I felt, knowing she's lost everything. That's the only way she'll understand how serious I am." Tom looked serious. You sure about this? Revenge can get messy. You don't want to blow everything up and end up regretting it. I've thought about it, I admitted, but I can't keep pretending I'm okay. I want her to see that I'm done playing nice. She thinks she can manipulate her way out of this, but I've got the proof and I'm going to use it. That night, I spent hours researching what I could do. I knew I couldn't just storm into her life and ruin her outright, too obvious, too reckless. Instead, I wanted her to suffer a little, make her realize I was serious, and that I'd fight dirty if I had to. Next morning, I woke up early and started setting my plan in motion. I reached out to a few friends, trusted allies who could help me. I told them I needed to send a message, something to make her realize she'd made a terrible mistake crossing me. I wanted her to feel vulnerable, to understand that I could retaliate in ways she'd never expect. Then I made a call to her workplace. I instructed the friend I'd enlisted to leave an anonymous tip that Jenny had been caught sneaking out late at night, meeting up with someone suspicious. I wanted the manager to be suspicious, to start questioning her. I needed her to get a warning without her realizing it was me behind it. Meanwhile, I also took steps to gather more evidence. I hired a private investigator, just enough to monitor her movements without her realizing. I wanted her to slip up again, to make a mistake that I could use against her. Every step was calculated, methodical, and designed to make her see that she'd messed with the wrong person. Over the next few days, Jenny's behavior started changing. She became paranoid, visibly anxious. She was constantly looking over her shoulder, texting furiously, and avoiding me at all costs. I could see the cracks in her perfect facade, and it felt like victory already. My gut told me I was on the right track. One particular afternoon, I received a package in the mail, an anonymous letter with more photos of her meeting Jake again, taken from a distance. My stomach clenched with satisfaction. She thought she was clever, but I was even smarter. I printed everything out, made copies, and stored it safely. I wasn't playing around anymore. This was war. I arranged a meeting with her, one where I'd confront her with everything I had, but I made it look like I was giving her one last chance to explain herself. I wanted her to feel cornered, to crack under pressure. I knew her weaknesses and I was ready to exploit them. When she arrived, she looked pale but tried to act composed. "What's this about?" she asked, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. "Oh, I think you know," I said calmly, laying out the photos, the messages, the recordings I'd secretly made. "You lied, betrayed me, and I'm tired of pretending I don't see the real you. You thought you could get away with it, but now everyone knows. You're finished." Her face drained of color and she started stammering. "I didn't mean for any of this to go this far. Save it," I cut her off sharply. "You thought you could cheat and lie your way out of it, but I won't let you. You're done, Jenny. You crossed the line, and I'm exposing you for who you really are." I watched her crumble under the weight of her own lies, her eyes filling with tears. I felt a strange mix of triumph and sadness. I'd lost so much trust, so much love, but I knew this was the only way to stop her from hurting me again. As she sat there silent, I took her keys from her purse. "You're not welcome here anymore. No contact, no explanations. I want you to leave and not come back." I handed her the keys, watching her reaction, her eyes wide with shock, the realization that her game was over. She looked like she wanted to beg, to say something, but she knew she'd lost. I turned away and walked out of her life for good. That day, I knew I'd done everything I could to protect myself, to send her a clear message. I wasn't going to be anyone's fool anymore. And as I drove home, I felt a strange sense of closure. No more lies, no more betrayal, just a woman reclaiming her life. The lesson: sometimes you have to fight dirty to protect what's yours. If someone crosses the line, don't hesitate to make them regret it. Because the truth is, nobody gets to walk all over you, especially not a liar. The days after I handed her the keys felt strange. There was a sort of quiet that settled over everything, like the calm after a storm. I didn't expect to feel relief or closure, but somehow I did. It was as if I'd finally taken control back, reclaimed my dignity after all the betrayal and lies. I stayed distant, letting her go, knowing that I'd done everything I could to make her understand she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I remember looking around my empty house that evening, feeling the weight of everything I'd uncovered and survived. The house was silent, except for the faint hum of the city outside. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall, letting a long breath out. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was finally in charge again. No more secrets, no more shadows lurking, just me, standing tall. I realized that revenge hadn't just been about making her pay. It was about protecting myself, reclaiming my peace. I no longer felt the sting of her betrayal, not because I'd forgotten, but because I'd taken action. I'd turned the pain into power. That night, I finally allowed myself to feel everything I'd been suppressing. The anger, the hurt, the disappointment. But I also felt a strange, quiet pride. I had faced the worst and come out stronger. I no longer wondered if I'd made the right choice. I knew I did. I chose to stand up for myself, to take what was mine, and to end the lies once and for all. Looking back, I'd never thought I'd find myself in such a terrible situation. But I learned something invaluable. Sometimes you have to fight dirty, and sometimes you have to be ruthless to protect your heart. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals what you're truly made of. I found out I was stronger than I thought, capable of seeing through deception and brave enough to make difficult decisions. So here's my advice. Trust your instincts, pay attention to the red flags, even if they seem small, and never ignore that gnawing feeling in your gut. If someone lies to you once, they'll do it again. And sometimes you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to protect yourself, even if it means playing dirty. Because in the end, the only person responsible for your happiness and safety is you. No one else will fight for you the way you will. And that's a lesson I'll carry forever. Never let anyone strip away your truth, and never forget that you're worth fighting for.